Ladies and gentlemen, the Governor of the great state of Louisiana, the Honorable Bobby Jindal.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, members of the legislature, statewide elected officials, family, friends, the great people of the great state of Louisiana. As we open our fourth regular session together, it certainly is a time to reflect back on the many challenges our state has been through these many years. Last 5.5, 6 years, we've now been through 4 devastating hurricanes. We've been through an oil spill, and despite those challenges, our people have come back through each of those challenges stronger and better than ever before. We remain committed to building a better Louisiana for our children and our grandchildren. Overarching these challenges, perhaps the greatest challenge that faces us as a state, I'm reminded when I took my inaugural oath, we defined as the greatest challenge facing our state the fact that for too many years here in Louisiana, we've been exporting our greatest assets. Not our crops, not our oil, not our grass, not our oil, our gas, our manufactured products, but rather our children, our sons and daughters. We committed then to each other we would work together to create a better Louisiana for our children and grandchildren. Indeed, this is the same challenge confronting every state in the country, indeed our entire country. Not one of us wants to be the first generation of Americans that leaves fewer opportunities for our children and our grandchildren than we inherited from our parents. American dream is that if our children work hard, play by the rules, get a great education, they should be able to do even better than we did. Indeed, every generation has left behind more opportunities for their children. Yet that very American dream is what is at risk right now today in our country. We're in the middle of the greatest recession since the Great Depression. And indeed, in D.C., they continue along the same old path. They continue to tax, spend, and borrow as if that is the way to solve our problems. They have now racked up over $14 trillion of debt in our children's and grandchildren's name. Here in Louisiana, we've done something different. I'm proud, and I won't go through in great detail, but we decided to go down a Louisiana path. We said our #1 priority would be to create good-paying jobs for our children. We've taken 5 great steps together, working together to build a new Louisiana for our people. It started in these chambers with a special session. Within our first 30 days, we had a special session on ethics, passed some of the country's best and strongest ethics laws. Center for Public Integrity used to rank us 44th worst for legislative disclosure. Now we rank #1 in the country. We used to rank in the bottom 5 in the Better Government Association's Integrity Index. Today we rank in the top 5. We didn't stop there because it was never about ratings and rankings. It was about creating jobs for our children. Within weeks, we came back into a second special session. In that session, we got rid of the taxes on debt, on new equipment, on utilities. Later that year, we passed the largest income tax cut in our state's history. Because we understand, unlike those in other states or up in Washington, D.C., that we are not going to create jobs by taxing our people, by increasing government spending. We then, in a third step, have made it a priority to provide the best workforce training that you can find anywhere in the world. Indeed, we know 70% of the companies want to move or expand here. Tell us one of their top 2 concerns is finding a skilled worker. We now have the top-ranked workforce training program in Louisiana Fast Start. We now offer a day-1 guarantee that says our people be ready to work on the first day or we'll retrain them for free through our community and technical colleges. We have continued our 4th step. We've continued to improve education in our K-12 system. We've passed important laws like the value-added accountability laws, like the laws to improve our charter schools and other laws, like putting discipline back into our classrooms to continue to improve education for our children. 5th and finally, we've invested in infrastructure. $3.6 billion in roads and ports in our first 18 months. We committed more than had been done in the last 3 administrations combined to help improve our quality of life and grow our economy. Bottom line, 5 critical steps to help build a new Louisiana. But the important thing is not the bills and the laws, but the results. We've now announced economic development wins totaling 39,500 new jobs, $8.5 billion in capital investment. You see many national ratings and rankings showing that we are indeed creating a new Louisiana. Site Selection ranked Louisiana #1 in the country for per capita economic development. Portfolio.com said last year we had the 2nd best economic performance during the recession. Gallup said last year we were the 3rd best state in the country at creating jobs. Indeed, our unemployment rate has been below the national average every single month since we've been in office. Southern Business Development has named Louisiana the State of the Year, with Tennessee 2 years in a row based on economic development. And the rankings and the ratings and the list go on, showing that we're outperforming the southern economies and the national economies when it comes to creating jobs for our people, our children, our grandchildren. But you know, perhaps better than just listing many statistics and rankings, I want to share with you some of the stories of the companies that are moving to Louisiana, expanding in Louisiana, creating those good-paying jobs for our people. I'll start with a company right here in Baton Rouge, one of our earliest, most important economic development wins. You may remember there was a company named Albemarle Corporation headquartered up in Richmond, Virginia, with significant operations right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Albemarle is now one of Louisiana's new Fortune 1000 companies. For too many years, we worried about companies moving their headquarters out of the state. Albemarle actually moved their headquarters from Virginia to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. With that move came 30 new jobs, a payroll of $7 million. Now, in case you want to do the math really quickly, what that means is more than $200,000 per job in terms of salary. What that means, those are exactly the kinds of jobs it's going to take to keep our best, our brightest, our children, our grandchildren right here in Louisiana. Albemarle could have stayed in Virginia. They could have moved their corporate headquarters to any state in this country. Their CEO, their leadership said they came to Louisiana because of the reforms, the changes happening in Louisiana. They wanted to be a part of this new Louisiana. Mark Rohr, the CEO of Albemarle, is here with us today. I'm going to ask Mark to stand. As Mark stands, let's give a round of applause to Mark and the team at Albemarle for the jobs they're creating for our people. But it's not just here in Baton Rouge. I want to share with you the story of a company named Gardner Denver Thomas up in Monroe, Louisiana. Again, earlier in our administration, we had heard that this company was thinking about moving and closing their operations in Monroe, moving those workers to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Indeed, many said it was all but done. This deal was all but done. How many times have we heard this? In a tough economy, a company has to consolidate 2 different sites. And in the past, more often than not, they'd end up shutting down the operations in Louisiana. People had already written this off and said that it was already gone. These jobs were already gone. We met with the CEO, we met with their senior team, and began to talk to them about the changes we were making in Louisiana, the taxes we were cutting, the workforce training programs, and indeed, Louisiana Fast Start was one of the critical reasons they decided not to close down their operations in Monroe. Instead, they ended up quadrupling their size, quadrupling the number of workers they had in Monroe, Louisiana, from 70 to over 300 workers. Instead of shutting down their operations in Louisiana, they ended up moving the machinery and the jobs from Wisconsin to Louisiana in part because of the new environment, the new business-friendly environment. Indeed, the CEO told us he didn't feel like he had to play defense in Louisiana. He didn't have to worry about folks trying to raise his taxes here in Louisiana. We've got, from Gardner Denver Thomas, from this Fortune 1000 manufacturer, we've got Dwayne Morgan, the president of Engineered Products. Let me ask Dwayne to stand. Let's give Dwayne and the team at Gardner Denver Thomas a round of applause for picking Louisiana. It is in every corner of our state. You look up in Shreveport, one of our great companies up there, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, offers the kind of high-paying pharmaceutical jobs that we want for our children and our grandchildren. So we were therefore thrilled to be able to announce this global pharmaceutical manufacturer is not only keeping over 160 jobs in Louisiana, but in an economic development deal, agreed to create over 73 new jobs, again, good-paying jobs in Shreveport, Louisiana. Paul Granberry, the senior director from Dr. Reddy's Labs, is here. Let me ask Paul to stand. Let's give Paul a round of applause for Dr. Reddy's commitment to Louisiana. In Southwest Louisiana, we've had several economic development wins. One of the most notable is Aeroframe. We're developing an expertise in the rehabilitation, the maintenance, indeed the basic remanufacturing of airplanes. Many companies are in this industry right here in Louisiana. Aeroframe has more than doubled their workforce. They're creating over 400 new jobs, average salary $55,000 plus benefits, literally growing just as quickly as they can occupy that space to bring in more customers, more planes to work on right here in Louisiana. The CEO of Aeroframe, Roger Porter, is here with us. Let me ask Roger to stand. Let's give Roger a round of applause for the great work they're doing in Louisiana. Over in Lafayette, we've got Pixel Magic, part of the digital media, the film industry that is creating great paying jobs. These are permanent jobs, high-tech jobs helped by the tax credits we as an administration, you as a legislature have worked together to provide for the industry. We've got Raymond McIntyre, the Vice President of Pixel Magic, who's now creating jobs in Lafayette, Louisiana. Let me ask Raymond to stand. Let's give Pixel Magic a round of applause for their commitment to Louisiana. And then the sixth and final example I want to share with you today. Obviously, we could have listed dozens and dozens of other companies that have made a decision to invest in Louisiana, to move their headquarters here. Whether it's CenturyLink, our newest Fortune 500 company, whether it's other companies across the state creating good-paying jobs for our people, for our children and our grandchildren. I want to tell you the story of Nucor. You may remember now, we started talking to this company, America's largest steel company, a little over 3 years ago, about why it made sense to invest in Louisiana. Now, I'm proud that we broke ground a few weeks ago in St. James Parish, but you need to know that Nucor could have broken ground even earlier if they had been convinced, if they knew the direction our country was going to take when it comes to regulatory and tax policies. Indeed, when I talked to the CEO, he told me time and time again, he said, Governor, you've convinced me. Louisiana is the best place in America for us to build our next facility. He said, but now, because of the uncertainty coming out of Washington, D.C., we've got to consider whether it makes sense for us to go to Brazil or somewhere else. Now, I'm thrilled they decided to build in Louisiana. Remember what this means for our state. Up to $3.4 billion. Across 5 phases, up to 1,250 permanent jobs. Average pay $75,000 before benefits. LSU did a study estimating a total of 6,000 jobs. These are good-paying jobs. This may be one of the largest economic development investments in our state's modern history in a very, very long time. Not only does this prove that Louisiana can compete with any state in the country, it proves we can compete with other countries across the entire world. It also proves we can continue to secure good-paying, high-paying manufacturing jobs right here in the United States of America. I want to thank the CEO. You know, many times Dan would tell me what they needed the most was business-friendly, predictable policies. What they needed was the guarantee that the playing field wouldn't be changed once they started building this facility. Well, I'm thrilled that we were able to convince Nucor, not only was Louisiana the best place in America for them to make this huge investment, but the best place in the entire world for them to make this investment and hire our people. The CEO of this Fortune 500 company, Dan D'Amico, is here with us today. I want to ask Dan to stand. Let's give Dan and the folks at Nucor a great round of applause. Mark, Dwayne, Paul, Raymond, Roger, and Dan are going to be our best ambassadors, telling their corporate peers about why Louisiana is the best state in which to invest and create jobs. Now, many people have been worried as we approach this upcoming fiscal year about whether we would be able to continue our momentum given the fiscal challenges we face in 11-12. I'm proud to tell you we've proposed a budget that you will now be considering that is balanced, a budget that does not raise taxes, a budget that does not cut higher education. There was a lot of concern about the expiration of one-time federal dollars in the higher education budget. We have replaced those with increased state dollars, self-generated dollars. With our proposed legislation, we've proposed flexibilities that will allow higher education to earn even more than the dollars they received this year. Secondly, we have proposed a budget that doesn't cut the MFP for K-12 education. Even though we have cut spending overall by 26%, with this budget 27%, we've not cut the MFP formula. It has gone up 6% in our first 3 years. Will go up a total of 8% with this budget. It has gone up in total funding. It has gone up on a per capita basis as well. We've also proposed a budget that doesn't cut private Medicaid providers. We don't reduce eligibility. We don't eliminate services. And finally, we proposed a budget that does all those things. Doesn't cut higher ed, doesn't cut the MFP for K through 12, doesn't cut our private health care providers, and does all of that, while at the same time reducing the use of one-time money by 75% compared to last year's budget, and reducing the amount of one-time money by about half compared to the budget we inherited from the year before we took office. The bottom line is this. This is a good budget that protects our priorities and allows us to continue to move forward, to continue to create jobs for our children and grandchildren. Now, yes, we've had to tighten our belt. Since we've taken office with this budget, through this budget, we will have cut spending, overall government spending, by about $10 billion, by about 27%. We will have eliminated about 10,000 government-funded government positions. But at the end of the day, this is a balanced budget that allows us to move forward and continue to create jobs for our people. Now, I want to spend the remainder of my time talking about what I think is the most important challenge facing the legislature, facing the administration, and facing our state as we debate this budget and other bills through the upcoming session, and it is this. It is certainly no surprise, and it is no secret that I've taken a strong stand that we must absolutely not raise taxes. I've made it very clear I'll veto any proposed tax increase that gets to my desk. I want to explain to you why that is so important, why I've taken that position. Because every governor in the state, every elected official in Washington, D.C. has to make this one fundamental decision. During tough economic times, are we willing to make the tough choices in our state capitals, in our national capital? Are we willing to simply just shift this burden to our families and businesses already struggling to pay their bills? You know, the reality is this. We have outdone the South. We've outdone the country economically these last 3.5 years. But there are still too many Louisiana families and businesses struggling to find good-paying jobs, struggling to pay their bills. The worst thing we could do is make it harder on them to pay their bills, to keep their payroll intact. And indeed, you know, it is very tempting to just simply boil down political debates down bumper stickers or political philosophies. I want to explain to you my reasons. I want to share with you my reasons why I think it would be the worst thing we could do in this economy, in this environment, to raise taxes. Indeed, I had a guy come up to me after I gave a speech last week. He asked me this. He said, Governor, it doesn't seem like there's enough money in Baton Rouge. Seems to me like there's not enough money for the budget. He says, why don't y'all just support some of those revenue enhancements? By the way, I do think it's interesting. When people want to raise our taxes, they talk about things like revenue enhancements or revenue increases. Let's be honest, let's call it what it is. It's a tax increase. And let me tell you why I'm opposed to tax increases. Here are my reasons. Tax increases kill jobs. Tax increases kill opportunity. Tax increases hurt economic development. Tax increases hurt our ability to attract new businesses into Louisiana. Tax increases hurt people who want to start a small business right here in our state. Tax increases hurt our ability to compete with other states. Tax increases hurt our ability to grow and provide good opportunities for our children to find work right here in Louisiana. But there's more than that. To favor increasing taxes, those that want to increase our taxes, you're basically saying the government needs and deserves more of the people's money. Let's call it what it is. A proposal to enhance revenues is a proposal to expand government. And let's be honest. We have just now been witness to the largest expansion of government spending in our country's history. I want to share with you a statistic I read in the Wall Street Journal. It said this. It said, thanks to the explosion of the cost and size of government, what that means now is that America now has more government workers. As a country, we've got more people working for the government than we have in construction, in farming, in fishing, in forestry, in manufacturing, in mining, and in utilities combined. We've got more government workers than working in all of those industries combined. And then you wonder why we've got such a massive debt, $14 trillion and counting. You know, tax increases, to support tax increases means that you believe government needs your money more than you do. To support tax increases, that means you believe that government can put your money to better use than you can. Every time government increases taxes, it diminishes our personal economic freedoms. Make no mistake about it. Expansion of government spending, expansion of government taxes means a corresponding decrease in individual liberty and freedom. Look, I'm all for excellence and efficiency in government and a government that spends only that which is truly necessary. I'm sure that we're going to hear lots of requests, and we all believe the government could do more things for more people if it simply had more money. That's undoubtedly true. But I also believe that the people of Louisiana trust themselves with their money more than they trust us. We need to think long and hard before we tell our fellow citizens that we're going to, by the powers vested in us, forcibly take more of their money and put it in the hands of government. To put it more simply, we don't have a revenue problem in Baton Rouge. We don't have a revenue problem in Washington, D.C. We've got a spending problem. One of the reasons we are so sure that we will veto any tax increase, one of the reasons we have made this a cornerstone and principled stand is because we continue to be committed to building a better Louisiana. I go back to those words on Inauguration Day where we committed this. We would stop sending the dreamers, the entrepreneurs, the children, and the grandchildren to other states to pursue their dreams. I firmly believe it would be a mistake to think we're going to bring them back by creating one more government program, by increasing one more government tax. Instead, I think the path to prosperity, the path to ensuring that our children and grandchildren pursue their dreams right here, the path to ensuring that we don't just see our families on Easter weekend, but we see them every day, is by making sure that we cut taxes. We continue to cut government spending. We live within our means. We continue to create those good-paying private sector jobs for our people so they can pursue their dreams right here in Louisiana. So that the next time we meet, the next time that I speak to you, it's not just Newcorp. It's not just Albemarle. It's not just the companies we've highlighted today, but there are dozens of additional Louisiana and other companies investing in Louisiana, expanding in Louisiana, creating good-paying jobs for our children. Let's remember, our number one priority, our number one obligation is to ensure that we leave more opportunities for our children and our grandchildren that we inherited from our parents. Our number one obligation is to build a better Louisiana so our children can pursue their dreams without leaving home. I want to thank you in advance for the hard work you're about to do during this session. May God continue to bless each and every one of you and your families. May God continue to bless the great state of Louisiana. May God continue to bless these United States of America. God bless you all and thank you all very much.